Within the Isle's roster, there is a very small group of playables that do not perfectly fit any of the traditional tiers games of this genre are used to have. You know what I'm talking about. Too large for mid-tiers, but still way too small to be considered an apex. Like I said, there are not all that many under this umbrella, but enough for an unofficial category to be silently accepted by the community. These dinosaurs are commonly tagged as semi-apexes, mostly due to their size and power leaning more to the big boys rather than mid-tiers. This hidden class has existed for many years at this point, and when it comes to Evrima, this trend appears to remain untouched. If anything, some species are even more qualified for this category than before. With Rex and Trike coming back to the game before the majority of the roster, I believe this is a good time to discuss everything surrounding these peculiar playables. So let's get to it. Under this special list, there are some rather popular dinos, Acro and Suko being the most well-defined of the bunch, with Para seemingly getting scaled up enough to stand up from other mid-tiers, but of course not enough to be an apex. That would be pushing it, let's be honest here. Funny enough, all three of these already got their Evrima concept arts, showcasing their brand new gameplay mechanics and general niche they will be expected to fill. In case you're interested, I made an analysis video for every single one of them, so go check it out if you haven't already. And yes, I'm aware of the Camus concept art that will be for next week. One interesting observation though, is that there is somewhat of a pattern across all three of them, and unfortunately, it's not a good one. To be fair, they are not that terrible or anything, but, at least to me of course, there is something wrong with them to a degree. Take Acro for example. He's being clearly portrayed as a solitary predator that hunts a vast array of animals from big to small with the unique mechanic of being able to strangulate their prey. Okay, nothing wrong there. But then we check their opponents. A Kama and a Trike. Okay, what? A single Acro successfully hunt these two fat asses on its own? Am I supposed to believe that Gigas require two of them to hunt down the exact same dino? How does that make any sense? Look, I'm all for solo hunters that punch up. That's actually my favorite niche, honestly. But sauropods? That's a long stretch. Especially when the Isle has multiple megatheropods magnitudes larger, heavier and more powerful. I think it would be much better if they either scaled down the bridge between the Acro and whatever they hunt, or make it a specialist of one class of animal. If Acros were very good at hunting ceratopsians or hadrosaurs, even the larger ones, I don't think that would be much of a problem. But being able to hunt pretty much anything, solo of all things, this feels kinda overpowered to me. Unless this implies that herbies will be so weak that pretty much everything can hunt them, but that's another can of worms that I already covered, so let's not go there. Here's another one. Suko. Being a fisher is not that much of a surprise. Everyone wouldn't see it in any other way anyway. It does have some intriguing details in its niche. It can nest on mud, it can hold multiple small bodies at once, it can even hold water in its throat pouch. Those are some neat aspects of its gameplay. And it kinda fits the overall personality of being basically a water bear, which is a role that people already adopted even in Legacy, where aquatic mechanics were almost non-existent. But is that it? This is literally a mega berry we are talking about. These things were huge. They could almost rival Spinos. Almost. And this is all it does? And why are their prey items so small? It's either fish, babies or dryos. Why? Even berries themselves hunt things larger than that. That is a very inconsistent dynamic. It also doesn't help the fact that its concept art pretty much has zero interactions with any other semi-aquatics outside of Baby. We have no clue how they will interact with berries, Deinosuchus, Deinocheirus or Spinos. And I'm not talking about combat exclusively. This would actually be a great opportunity to add deep symbiotic relationships between species into the game. Just imagine, if they had a special connection with berries for example, where baby Sucos would be tolerated by the former, but once the latter would become an adult, berries could freely scavenge Sucos' meals. This is just a rough concept obviously, but I personally believe that these unique interactions would actively improve interactions between players, especially semi-aquatics, which in my opinion is overly saturated with big meat eaters. What's here is not bad, mind you, but it does feel very incomplete. With so much potential, turning sucos into giant pelicans without much mechanical depth or complexity in its niche feels like a very big disservice in my opinion. I'm not gonna mention para all that much since I already did a whole video dedicated to the issue related to hadrosaurs in games about 2 weeks ago, but if anything, para is the worst of the three. From my knowledge, they are getting upsized a bit, hence why they are now perceived as more of a semi-apex. I believe there's a new specimen that bumped up the size of this particular genus a couple of tons or something, but I'm not sure of that, so take this with a grain of salt. But unfortunately, regardless of its weight update, they are still being interpreted as skittish deer with anxiety. It can fend off small predators, which is more than expected, but everything else is pretty bad. Allosauruses are formidable pack hunters, that cannot be denied, and 3 chasing down a single para, yeah, that's not gonna end well for the latter. But at least make it put up a fight. This illustration is portraying it as if it was completely helpless. It doesn't seem right in the slightest. I'm not saying to let para win, but at least don't make it look like a walking piece of meat with a ring bell. They are planning on giving it a sonic roar to stun enemies, which in concept is a good idea, and it also fits paras pretty well since they are known for their unique vocalization, but at the same time they are expecting players to use that stun to run away? There are 3 paras here stunning an allo. Do you really think they will skedaddle afterwards? 3 massive herbivores, each one weighing more than the allo, with their predator stun right in front of them, and they are supposed to flee? Do you really think that's going to happen? Not to mention that they are also making it super fast despite their size for lack of weaponry. I'm not a para fan, but this feels really dirty. I understand that balancing playables is complicated, especially the ones present in such a strange category. I do get it. But these examples are something else. It is incredibly inconsistent. They are either too strong, too weak, or too bland compared to other dinosaurs. This can also be a symptom of roster creep, which we have already been covering a lot over the years, but I get the impression that this small group is affected by this issue way more than the rest, and it probably has even more inherent issues due to their unfitting categorization. But this is just my opinion. I said something similar whenever Cerato's concept art dropped, and now that's in the game, it is one of the best designed playables we have to date. So until these dinos are actually in the game, a lot can change, and hopefully, that is what will happen. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you wanna join the ranks, you can do so for only $1 a month, the link will be in the description. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, join our Discord server, engage with the community, and I hope to see you all next time.